It's not at all obvious at first glance, or indeed at second glance, that Monkshood is a member of the buttercup family, which is generally regarded as one of the more primitive families of flowering plants. But it does show you what variation is possible with small changes on a basic ancestral floral plan. And Monkshood is also one of the several species or groups of species in the buttercup family where the sepals have taken over the advertising function of the petals. And the petals themselves have been transformed into nectaries. Here, however, in contrast with the hellebores, which we looked at earlier in the year, the sepals have shaped themselves into a zygomorphic, or bilaterally symmetrical, cowl or hood. The uppermost sepal forms the helmet-shaped structure from which the plant takes its name. The nectaries, which are tightly enclosed in the keel of the helmet, are very elaborate structures, each consisting of a long stalk and a hollow spur at the apex which contains the nectar. Contrast this with the nectary in buttercups, which is just a little flap at the base of the petal. The two lowermost sepals give a precarious foothold to the mid and hind legs of the visiting bumblebees. The anthers are arranged in a tight cluster at the entrance, like a sort of doormat, and the bee has to clamber over them as she enters the flower to reach the nectaries, becoming liberally dusted with pollen as she does so. Only bumblebees are strong enough and have tongues that are long enough to do this successfully. The flowers are protandrous, the numerous stamens maturing before the carpels, of which there are between 3 and 5. Only when the anthers have shed their pollen do the carpels mature, looking rather like nestlings, growing ever plumper as they ripen in their nest of withering stamens. It is amazing to watch the dexterity with which the bumblebee works the flowers, extracting nectar from each in the few short seconds of her hurried visit. The genus to which Monkshood belongs is Aconitum. It's a large genus of more than 250 species, mainly north temperate in distribution. And our Monkshood is itself native to Central and Western Europe, and with us here it's usually seen in gardens, but it does escape into the wild at times and becomes a proper wildflower. All parts of the plant are deadly poisonous, particularly the rhizomes, which can cause death in as little as 20 minutes after a succession of highly unpleasant symptoms which I will not describe for you. But in spite of that, it has several important uses in modern medicine for treating heart complaints and for alleviating the pain of conditions like sciatica, neuralgia and gout. And Monkshood is a marvellous example of the way in which long ago people in all cultures trying to explain the function of flowers before modern scientific understanding gave us a real understanding of what flowers are all about. People turned to mythology for some explanation of how flowers had come into existence. So in Greek mythology, Cerberus was the three-headed hound of Pluto, the god of the underworld, charged with the task of guarding the boundary between the land of the living and the land of the dead, and preventing the dead from leaving and the living from arriving before their due time. And one of the 12 labours of Hercules, in fact the 12th and most difficult labour of Hercules, was to go unarmed into Hades and bring back Cerberus, which he succeeded in doing. But as he dragged the hound up onto the land of the living, having crossed the river Styx, which separates the land of the living from the land of the dead, the spittle from the hound's mouth drooled onto the ground, and where it touched the land of the living, Monkshood was born.